welcome to Ansika IS Academy, and this is the series of Tamil Nadu Board History 12th class, and this is chapter number 20. India after independence. There are mainly 6 topics that we will cover in this chapter. First, the silent feature of the Indian Constitution, the integration of Indian states, the linguistic recognition of states, economic development of India since independence, growth of science and technology, the foreign policy of independent India. After the independence in 1947, the most immediate and important task before the Indian leaders were the drafting of the constitution and the integration of Indian state into the Indian Union. They had also been vested with the responsibility of making India economically sound and scientifically modern in the long-term perspective. The most challenging task ahead have been the removal poverty and the progress of education among the masses, of which the successive governments continue to take necessary steps. Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly began its work on 9th of December 1946 and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as its chairman. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was appointed as the chairman of the drafting committee after detailed discussion. The Constitution of India was finally adopted on 26th of November 1949. The Constitution came into effect on 26 January 1950. Since then, the day is celebrated as Republic Day. The silent features of the Indian Constitution are the adult suffrage, parliamentary system, fundamental rights, and directive principles. It provides a combination of federal and unitary forms of governance at the center, and the powers of the government have been clearly started in the three lists: central, state, and concurrent. The president is the constitutional head of the state, while the prime minister is the head of the executive. The prime minister is the leader of the party that has a majority in the Lok Sabha. The Indian Parliament has two houses: the Rajya Sabha or upper house and the Lok Sabha or the lower house. Each state has its own government headed by the chief minister, who remains the leader of the majority party in the respective legislative assembly. Thus, democratically elected governments rules the nation and provisions is made for periodical elections. The judiciary remains the upholder of the constitution. The Indian judiciary system consists of the Supreme Court at the center and high courts in the states. The subordinate courts in each state are under the control of the high court. Integration of princely states. At the time of independence, there were 11 British provinces and nearly 566 princely states. After the departure of the British from India, the princes of Indian states began the dream of independence. With great skill and masterful diplomacy, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel succeeded in integration the princely states with the Indian Union by 15 August 1947. Only three of them, Junagadh, Jammu and Kashmir and Hyderabad, refused to join. The ruler of Junagadh expressed his willingness to join Pakistan against the wishes of the people of that state. Patel sent Indian troops, and after a plebiscite, Junagadh joined the Indian Union. The state of Jammu and Kashmir bordered India and Pakistan. Its ruler was Raja Hari Singh. In the beginning, he also claimed independent status when the Pathan tribes led by Pakistan army officers invaded Kashmir. Hari Singh sought the help of India. Nehru pointed out that under international law, India could send its troops only after the state's accession to India. Therefore, on 26th of October 1947, Raja Hari Singh signed the instrument of accession, and Jammu and Kashmir has become an integral part of India. In the case of Hyderabad, the Nizam refused to join the Indian Union. After repeated appeals in 1948, Indian troops moved into Hyderabad and the Nizam surrendered. Finally, Hyderabad acceded to the Indian Union. Thus, the Union of India was established. With the integration and accession of the princely states with the Indian Union, this formidable task was fulfilled by the Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The linguistic reorganization of the states in 1948, the first linguistic province. In 1948, the first linguistic provinces commission headed by S.K. Dhar was appointed by the Constituent Assembly to inquire into the possibility of linguistic provinces. This commission advised against such a step. In the same year, another committee known as JVP Committee, consisting of Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, and Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, was appointed by the Congress party. This committee also did not favor for linguistic provinces, but there were popular movements for state reorganization all over the country, and it was intensive in Andhra. Therefore, in 1953, Andhra was created as a separate state. Simultaneously, Madras was created as a Tamil-speaking state. The struggle led by MP Shiv Ganam to return Tirutani with Madras was a memorable event in the history of Tamil Nadu. The success of Andhra struggle encouraged other linguistic groups to agitate for their own state. In 1953, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru appointed the State Reorganization Commission with Justice Fazal Ali as its chairman and Pandit Hridaynath Kunjuru and Sardar KMP Panikar as its members. The commission submitted its report on 30 September 1955. Based on this report, the States Reorganization Act was passed by the Parliament. In 1956, it provided for 16 states and 6 union territories. The Telangana region was transferred to Andhra. Kerala was created by merging the Malabar district with Travancore. Cochin, there was a strong movement of the Tamil linguistic people in Travancore. Kanyakumari, who struggled to be part of the state of Tamil Nadu. Indian polity 1947 से 2000. India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was considered the architect of modern India. He consolidated the Indian independence by forging national unity, nurturing democratic institutions, promoting science and technology, planning for economic development, and by following independent foreign policy. He was a truly nation builder. He died in 1964. Lal Bahadur Shastri succeeded Nehru as the next Prime Minister of India. He remained a role model for honesty in public life. He ended the Indo-Pak War of 1965 by concluding the Tashkent Agreement in January 1966. His ultimately death was great loss to the nation. Indira Gandhi, daughter of Nehru, became Prime Minister in 1966 and bravely faced the domestic challenges such as scarcity of food and foreign pressure. During the 1971 Bangladesh crisis, when opposition to her rule gathered momentum in 1975, she brought emergency rule, a black mark in the democratic tradition of India. However, she restored democratic rule by announcing general elections in 1977 in which she was defeated. Later in 1980, she was able to regain power by democratic means. In 1983, she undertook Blue Star operation in the Golden Temple at Amritsar, Punjab. As a result, unfortunately, she was shot dead by her own bodyguards in 1984 as a vengeance. Vengeance to her policy towards Punjab militancy. The Janata Party ruled for brief period between 1977 and 1980 brought Morarji Desai as Prime Minister of India. For the first time, non-Congress ministry was formed after independence. The lack of unity among the Janata leaders had resulted in the fall of the Janata government. Rajiv Gandhi became the Prime Minister of India in 1984 after her mother Indira Gandhi's assassination. He introduced new education policy and encouraged foreign investment. In 1987, he sent the Indian peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka with a viewpoint to put an end to the ethnic violence. He continued as Prime Minister till the next elections held in 1989. Later in May 1991, he was assassinated by the Sri Lankan Tamil एक्स्ट्रामिस्ट लिट्टे बोलते हैं उसको, लिट्टे ह्यूमन बॉम्ब से मार दिया था उनको. वीपी सिंह, वो तेलंगाना में, वो साउथ में गए हुए थे रैली के लिए, और एक ह्यूमन बॉम्ब आया और माला पहनाई राजीव गांधी जी को, साथ ही उड़ा दिया. वीपी सिंह वॉज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर बिटवीन 1989 and 1991. He was leading an anti-Congress coalition called the Janata Dal. During his tenure, he decided to implement the Mandal Commission report, which provided reservation for other backward classes. His government was marked by factionalism, and he was forced to resign in 1990. The next Prime Minister Chandrasekhar held the office from November 1990 to March 1991. In June 1991, P.V. Narasimha Rao became Prime Minister. He moved decisively towards new economic reforms, reducing the government's economic role, instituting austerity measures, and encouraging foreign investment. The Finance Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh's role in this sphere is wrong nothing. As a result, India started moving towards liberation, privatization, and globalization. After the elections of 1996, Atal Bihari Vajpayee became Prime Minister from the BJP party, but he was not able to prove majority in the parliament. Dev Gowda formed a coalition government. He was the 11th Prime Minister of India. 1996 से 97 he was from the state of Karnataka. His government also fell due to the no confidence motion voted jointly by the Congress and the BJP. He was succeeded by Indra Kumar Gujral for a brief period in 1997. Atal Bihari Vajpayee became the Prime Minister of India in 1998. पोखरण 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 में वो न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट हुआ था ना 1998 में, ऑपरेशन बुद्धा के नाम से. In 1999 elections, the National Democratic Alliance under the leadership of Vajpayee formed the government. His period witnessed two important events. One was the Kargil war with Pakistan and another was nuclear test in Pokhran. Sorry, ये पोखरण वाला वाजपेयी में होता, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी तो है. Pokhran. Economic development. When India became independent in 1947, it was gripped by mass poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, state agriculture, poorly developed industries, and inadequate infrastructure. There was an urgent need, immediate effort on national scale to achieve the path of progress in the socio-economic front. Jawaharlal Nehru was greatly influenced by the achievements of Soviet planning, but he also realized the importance of the democratic values. He encouraged planning for rapid industrial and agricultural growth. He encouraged a mixed economy. As a result, both public sector government-owned and private sector companies came into existence. His fundamental objective was to build an independent, self-reliant economy. Economic planning. The National Planning Commission was established on 15 March 1950 with the Prime Minister Nehru as its chairperson. The main objective of planning commission were to achieve high level of national and per capita income, to achieve full employment, to reduce inequalities of income and wealth, to set up a society based on equality and justice and absence of exploitation. The first 5-year plan 1951-56 tried to complete the projects at hand, including the rehabilitation of refugees. It was only during the second 5-year plan 1956-57 Professor P.C. Mahalanobis, the noted economist, played a leading role. This plan aimed at developing the industrial sector in the country. Rapid industrialization with particular emphasis in the development of the basic and heavy industries continued during the third 5-year plan 1961-66. During this period, many iron and steel, chemical, fertilizers, heavy engineers and machine buildings industries were set up in different parts of India. The objective of the fourth 5-year plan 1969-74 was growth with stability and progressive achievement of self-reliance. The original draft outline of the plan was prepared in 1966 under the stewardship of Ashok Mehta. Popular economic slogan during this time was Garibi Hatao, removal of poverty. The fifth 5-year plan 1974-79 was introduced at a time when the country was under severe economic crisis arising out of inflation. There was increase in oil pricing, but the plan was dropped at the end of the fourth year of the plan in March 1978 by the Janata government. The sixth 5-year plan 1980-85 aimed at strengthening the infrastructure for both agriculture and industry and meet the minimum basic needs of the people. The seventh 5-year plan 1985-90 emphasized on accelerating the growth of food grain production, increasing employment opportunities and raising productivity. The 8th 5-year plan 1992-97 aimed to achieve the goals, namely improvement in the levels of living, health and education of the people, full employment and elimination of poverty and planned growth of population. The main objectives of the 9th 5-year plan 1997-2002 were to give priority to agricultural sector, to remove poverty, to control prices, to provide food to the weaker sections, population control, to develop panchayat administration and to uplift the depressed classes as well as the tribal people. The Green Revolution. Despite credible growth of agricultural output in the 1950s, India faced food shortage in the mid-60s. The increase in population and the huge outlay to the plan of industrialization put pressures on the agricultural growth. India was forced to import millions of tons of food grains. The two wars with China 1965, Pakistan 1965 and two successive drought years 1965-66 brought enormous pressure to food production. In this background, The Green Revolution was launched in India with the aim of achieving self-sufficiency in the food production. The then Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Food Minister C. Subramaniam, and Indira Gandhi, who succeeded Shastri in 1966 after his brief tenure, put their efforts to the development of agriculture. The term Green Revolution was coined by Dr. William Catt of USA in 1968 when Indian farmers brought about a great advancement in wheat production. The introduction of modern methods of agriculture such as high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides, agricultural machinery such as tractors, pump sets and agricultural education considerably increased the food grain production in India. India attained food self-sufficiency by the 1980s. The effects of Green Revolution were notable in the northwestern region of Punjab, Haryana and western UP, Andhra Pradesh, parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Growth of science and tech. Independent India has also witnessed a tremendous growth in the sphere of science and technology. After 1947, Nehru became aware of the significant role of scientific research and technology for the progress of India. India's first national laboratory, the National Physical Laboratory, was established in 1947. It was followed by 17 such national laboratories for specializing in different areas of research, and Nehru himself assumed the chairmanship of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. In 1952, the first Indian Institute of Technology on the model of Massachusetts Institute of Technology was set up at Kharagpur. Subsequently, IITs were set up at Madras, Bombay, Kanpur and Delhi. The expenditure on scientific research and scientific based activities has increased year by year. There are about 200 research laboratories in India carrying out research in different areas. The Department of Science and Technology (DST), which was set up in 1971, has been assigned the responsibility of formulating science policy. Atomic energy. India was one of the first countries in the world to recognize the importance of nuclear energy. The Atomic Energy Commission was set up in August 1948 under the chairmanship of Homi Jahangir Bhabha. Formulate a policy for all atomic energy activities in the country. The Department of Atomic Energy (DAE) was set up in 1954 as an executive agency for the implementing the atomic energy programs. In 1956, India's first nuclear reactor in Trombay near Bombay, first in Asia, also began to function. Research and development work in the field of atomic energy and allied fields are carried out at 3 research centers, namely the Bhabha Atomic Research Center at Trombay, the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu, and the Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu, and the Center for Advanced Technology, Chennai. Space research. India has also evinced interest in space research. The Indian National Committee for Space Research was set up in 1962. Side by side, a rocket launching facility at Thumba came up. The first generation Indian national satellite system, INSAT first, represents India's first step towards implementing national requirements. The INSAT first A and the INSAT first B served countries' need in the field of telecommunications and meteorological Earth observations. The ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, looks after the activities in space science, technology and applications. The Vikram Sarabhai Space Center at Trivandrum, the largest of the ISRO centers, is primarily responsible for indigenous launch vehicle technology. The ISRO Satellite Center, Bangalore, is the satellite technology base in the Indian space program. The SHAR Center, encompassing the Sriharikota Island in Andhra Pradesh on the east coast of India, is the main operational base of ISRO, which is the satellite launching range. India's foreign policy. After 1947, India began to follow an independent foreign policy. It was designed by the first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He developed the basic principles of India's foreign policy. He was the architect of the non-aligned movement during the Cold War era. Also, he extended support to colonial countries in their struggle for independence. Nehru outlined the 5 principles of coexistence or Panchsheel for conducting relations among countries. They are mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefits, and peaceful coexistence. India plays an active role in international bodies such as the Commonwealth and the United Nations Organization. After the independence, Nehru decided to stay within Commonwealth, an organization Consisting of former British colonies, India had also played an active role in the UN peacekeeping forces in various parts of the world. It had sent its troops as part of UN peacekeeping mission into Korea, India, China, Suez Canal, and the Congo. India had to fight three major wars: 1965, 1971, and 2000 with Pakistan over the issue of Kashmir. India maintained friendly relations with both US and USSR during the Cold War era. In 1971, India and USSR signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty for Friendship and Alliance during the Bangladesh crisis. India and China are the two most important powers of Asia. These two are the most populous countries of the world. Also, they possess the significance of proud history and civilization dating back to in ancient times when the communist regime under the leadership of Mao Zedong was established in 1949. India was one among the first countries to recognize the People's Republic of China. In spite of India's friendly relations with China, India had to defend herself when China attacked India in 1962. The emergence of Bangladesh as an independent state with the active help of India was an important event. During the liberation struggle between East Pakistan and West Pakistan, India supported East Pakistan. The coordinated approach of Indian forces along with Mukti Wahini ultimately led to the liberation of Bangladesh. East Pakistan in December 1971. India is maintaining friendly relations right from the birth of Bangladesh in 1971. India has also been maintaining friendly relations with its neighbors, for which purpose the South Asian Association of Regional Corporations (SAARC) was established. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives are its members. The aim of SAARC is to increase economic, social, and cultural cooperation among its members. Periodic meetings are being held to achieve this goal. Learning outcomes. The democratic principles laid in the Indian Constitution, Vallabhbhai Patel's contribution to the integration of princely states, the reorganization of states on linguistic basis, Nehru's economic planning, and the objectives of the various 5 years plans, development of science and technology in various spheres, including atomic research and space programs, basic principles of India's foreign policy and India's relations with the world, countries, and neighbors. Thanks for watching again.